Dropship setup. Our objective for this topic is as follows. After completing the lesson, you should be able to define the basic setups which are required for dropship. Our first topic describes how to configure the relevant features in the order management and procurement offerings. These features are order management offering and procurement offering. This screenshot shows dropship setup features. There are some prerequisite setup features. Before you begin using the dropshipment process to fulfill orders, you need to configure the relevant features both in the order management and procurement offerings. Here are the features that you need to enable. Within order management, turn on the dropship feature by selecting the dropship checkbox. Doing this gives you access to the Oracle Fusion Supply Chain Financial Orchestration setup tasks that are required in order for the dropship flow to work. Within procurement, turn on the Customer Sales Order Fulfillment feature by selecting the Customer Sales Order Fulfillment checkbox. This setting allows Oracle Fusion Procurement to accept purchase requests for sales orders that will be fulfilled by a dropship supplier. Our next topic will describe the dropship setup task. This slide provides a list of setup tasks which will be discussed in the next several slides. The first task is managing items in dropship. Only items which are defined as purchasable are candidates for dropshipment. Therefore, you must define the items that you would like your suppliers to ship directly to your customer as purchasable in the organization that will be responsible for purchasing those items. This is done on the Manage Items page. As shown, the property is on the Specifications tab within the Purchasing Attribute group within the item organization. This screen shows how to manage sourcing task. You can define a global buy from a type of sourcing rule with supplier and supplier site populated. At the time of order promising, Oracle Fusion Global Order Promising will evaluate the sourcing rule and take into consideration the supplier calendar, supplier capacity, and supplier lead times. The supplier calendar defines the working days for the supplier and can vary by supplier site. It also considers only working days when accounting for lead times. The supplier capacity specifies the capacity of the supplier by item, supplier, and supplier site. Supplier capacity is also assumed to be based on the arrival date. Finally, the supplier lead processing lead time, which is specified within Oracle Fusion and then collected. The slide within Oracle Fusion depicts how to manage the flows task. Manage dropship financial flow user interface receiving trade organization for every senior enterprise. The receiving trade organization that will place the requisition for the goods. It also acts as the receiving or ship purchase order, and it's where the receipt and shipment accounting for the drop shipment is performed. The receiving business unit and the receiving legal entity are defaulted based on the receiving trade organization. For example, here, the system is set up to specify that any dropship sales in the Vision Operations business unit creates a requisition in the Vision Operations inventory organization. This screenshot shows how to manage the Order Management Parameters task. To successfully send a purchase request to Oracle Procurement Cloud, at least one value needs to be defined for the preparer for the procurement attribute. The default value applies across all business units. Also, specific values can be set up at the level of each business unit. The preparer is the person that your buyers are expected to reach out to if they need to discuss something within the context of fulfillment of the customer order. If a value has been business until stamped on the order, that value will be picked up. Otherwise, the default value across all business units will be picked. This attribute is mandatory for sending a purchase request to Oracle Procurement Cloud. If a default is defined, either an error message will be sent back to Cloud in response to a purchase request. The illustration now shows how to manage the suppliers and supplier sites task. The setup for supplier and supplier site enablement is done in the Manage Suppliers area within Oracle Fusion Purchasing. You must enable the site for purchasing for it to be considered a valid as shown on this slide. Also, on the Site Assignments tab, you must associate the requisition business unit as a client business unit for which the supplier site needs to be used for the purchasing function. Here is the tasks. In Oracle Fusion Purchasing, your buyer can create blanket purchase agreements for the items to be drop-shipped from a supplier. Each blanket purchase agreement is defined for a specific supplier and supplier site and more items with it. The prices mentioned in the agreement can be used for defaulting in the purchase documents. If you select the Automatically Generate Orders option, any requisite blanket purchase agreement will automatically get converted to a purchase order. Therefore, your buyer does not need to do so manually. If you select the option to group requisition using Customer Sales Order, the system will enable grouping with the same order number that was placed on a single purchase order. Next, are tasks for managing orchestration process definitions. The order fulfillment generic process definition has been delivered for your benefit. It contains conditional branches for drop shipment, fulfillment from internal warehouses, and you may use this as the default process assignment in your assign and launch rule. The condition that determines which branch the flow will take is as follows. If the supplier attribute is populated on the fulfillment line ship branch. Otherwise, if the item is defined as back-to-back enabled in the inventory organization, take the back-to-back. Otherwise, take the remaining branch where the shipment is from on-hand quantity in your warehouse. You can define your own orchestration processes as well as define which ones to pick in the assign and launch rules. Finally, we see the task for generating shipping documents for dropship and RMA orders. You can generate shipping documents for orders shipped directly from suppliers to customers, in example, dropship orders. Advanced shipment notifications are generated for dropship orders which can be sent to customers. In addition, you can generate shipping documents for customer returns to be sent to carriers or customers to accompany the returned goods. To print shipping documents for the dropship orders, select the Print Shipping Orders checkbox on the Manage Receiving Parameters page. To print shipping documents select the Print Shipping Documents for Return Material Authorization on the Manage Receiving Parameters page. To summarize, in this lesson, we should have learned how to define the base required for executing dropship. Dropship objectives are as follows. After you should be able to integration points in the dropship flow, identify an order fulfilled using dropship, the stage of a drop steps, review a dropship purchase order, in against a dropship purchase order. Our first topic is dropship integration points. This diagram shows the integration point within order promising. Scheduling is the first step in the orchestration process and is meant for order promising. Oracle Order Management Cloud sends a request to Oracle Global Order Promising Cloud to schedule. Global Order sourcing rules to determine the best possible sourcing option to fulfill the order. If there is a buy from type of a sourcing rule that is found to be suitable based on the available supplier capacity, lead time, supplier calendar, and the requested date on the order, sourcing will assign the supplier and supplier site on that sourcing rule to the order. After the supplier is stamped on the fulfillment line, order management knows that the fulfillment line will be a drop ship. Management absorbs the response from Global Order Promising. The fulfillment line status is set to scheduled status. This implies that the fulfillment line now has the attributes for scheduled ship and arrival dates, shipment methods. This completes the auto-scheduling interaction between order management and Global Order Promising. Next, the flow touches on the Getting Requisition business unit and organization. After it is known that the fulfillment line will be drop-shipped, management needs to identify the requisition business unit that will be responsible for sourcing the item and the requisition inventory organization where the logical receiving will be done. In the topic called Dropship Setup, we have Dropship Financial Flows task where the Dropship Financial Flow is defined. In this integration, Order Management Oracle Fusion Supply Chain Financial Orchestration to fetch these details and the appropriate Dropship Financial Flow and stores the response. These values are communicated in the cloud. These are also displayed on the fulfillment line in Order Management, and you'll see that in one of the following slides. In this interaction, Oracle Fusion Order Management calls the Purchase Request service with details such as the following. Customer information, such as ship to address, ship to contact, and sold to contact. The source order business keys, such as the number, line number, schedule number, customer requisition business unit and details, the item including the item ID, quantity, and the scheduled ship and arrival dates. All of these details are used by Oracle Fusion Procurement to create a purchase requisition, and an acknowledgement is then sent back with the requisition number and requisition line number. These details are saved on the fulfillment line in Order Management, and the status of the fulfillment line is Requisition Created. At the time of creating the requisition, Procurement checks whether a agreement exists for that supplier and item combination. If so, the requisition is sourced from that blanket purchase agreement, and the price is defaulted. Then the purchase order is sent to the supplier for verification is sent to Oracle Fusion Order Management. After the purchase order details are recorded in Order Management, the fulfillment line status is set to awaiting shipping to indicate that the next logical step is for the supplier to ship our product. This screenshot shows how you can review dropship orders in Order Management. After Oracle Fusion Global Order Promising schedules the supplier, the fulfillment view of the order in Oracle Fusion Order Management shows a drop shipment region in the Supply Details tab for the fulfillment line. This region does the following. It shows the supplier information, requisition business unit, and requisition organization that were obtained from Oracle Fusion. It also contains references to the requisition and purchase order in procurement, as well as the name of the buyer. As you see here, once the requisition details are available, they get displayed. The fulfillment line will then have a status of requisition created at this point in time until the purchase order information becomes available. Continue. We see how you can review dropship PO references in order management. Order management gets the reference to the dropship Fusion procurement. It stores that on the fulfillment line and the details are visible in the drop shipment region as we see here. The fulfillment line status gets updated to as shown in the screenshot. Here are some more details against the dropship purchase order. A buyer can review the dropship purchase order in Fusion Procurement. A dropship purchase order schedule is identified through these characteristics. 1. Type attribute has a value of dropship. Secondly, ship to location is that of the customer. This order attribute shows the sales order number in the source order system. This flow shows the integration points of a shipment of good against the purchase order. An advanced shipping notice, or an ASN, is created when the supplier. Once this happens, a logical receipt is created in Oracle Fusion Receiving against the drop shipment of the purchase order, and a notification is sent to the Fusion Order Management. Order Management then calls the Get Shipment Details web service to fetch all of the details of the shipment, such as the ASN, waybill, bill of lading, item and ship quantity, and etc. If the entire ordered quantity is shipped, set to ship status, and the flow moves to the next logical step, which is billing. The ASN also signals to Oracle Fusion Supply Chain Financial Orchestration to execute the financial flow to create the cost accounting distributions. This is to track the cost and liability for ownership transfers between parties. How you can create ASN against the dropship purchase orders. To create an ASN against the dropship purchase order, you can do this in the supplier portal. To do so, a supplier would log into the supplier portal and navigate to the Create ASN page. There, he or she would search for the dropship purchase order using the purchase order number as a reference. Then, they select the relevant purchase order schedule and click the Create ASN button. In this graphic, you'll see the page where the supplier enters the details of the shipment. During the shipment details, the supplier will then click the Submit button and then get an acknowledgement that the ASN has been created. Internally, if a warehouse manager were to enter the ASN in the receipt work area, the results would be the same. This screen shows how you can manage shipments for dropship orders. The Manage Shipment page allows you to search for dropship orders. To determine drop shipment, select dropship value as the order type, list date as system date. In addition, you can search for shipments created for the dropship orders on the Manage Shipments and the Manage Shipment Lines page using the waybill number which has been provided by the supplier as part of the ASN. Here, we see the packing in the report in the system-generated number, which is not the same as the packing slip number which is specified by the supplier in the ASN. The Ship From field on the packing slip displays supplier's name and address for dropshipped orders. The Ship To field on the packing slip displays customer's name and address. The serial numbers specified by the supplier in the ASN for the dropship PO are displayed in the packing slip report for the shipment which was created for dropship orders. Here's an example of a customer commercial invoice location. It displays the supplier's address information for the Ship From region and the customer's address as the Ship To location. A commercial invoice is generally used to provide an estimate of charges for the customer, but an actual invoice will be generated in Oracle Cloud Receivables and sent to the customer for payment processing. This flow depicts the integration points of invoicing the customer. Once the ordered goods are shipped to the customer, the process reaches the point of billing the customer for the order. Billing is done by Receivables within Financials Cloud. Order Management calls the Create Invoice web service which is provided by Receivables and sends their details. When the request is acknowledged by Receivables, the status of the fulfillment line is set to Awaiting Billing. When the invoice for the drop shipment is checked, Order Management is again notified. The invoice details such as invoice number, date, and amount is served against the fulfillment line and saved, and the status of the fulfillment line is billed. Because all activity is completed against the fulfillment line, it is now closed and no longer open for any changes or modifications. Next, our topic will discuss how to track progress with the fulfillment line statuses. This table shows how to track progress with fulfillment line statuses. Scheduled. Once Oracle Fusion provides the scheduling details to Order Management, the status of the fulfillment line is set to Scheduled. At this time, the fulfillment line has a scheduled ship date, scheduled arrival date, supplier, and supplier site. Next, requisition created. Once procurement responds back to Order Management's purchase request with requisition details, the fulfillment line status progresses to requisition created. Details are recorded on the fulfillment line. Awaiting shipping status. Once procurement provides the purchase order details to Order Management, the fulfillment line status progresses to awaiting shipping. At this point, The PO details and buyer are captured as part of the fulfillment line. Shipped. Once receiving notifies order management that the supplier has order management gets the shipment details, the status of the fulfillment line is then set to shipped. Awaiting billing. In order to invoice the customer, Oracle Fusion Order Management sends an invoicing request to receivables, which acknowledges the request. This is when the status of the fulfillment awaiting billing. And finally, billed. When receivable sends a notification with details of the receivables invoice to order management, the fulfillment line status progresses to billed. To reinforce your knowledge of this topic, perform Activity 12-1 to drop ship an order. Your general steps will be as follows. You'll query and review a blanket purchase agreement using supplier name. You'll then submit a sales order using order data. Then you'll review an order as it goes through steps. You'll also log into Oracle Fusion Receiving as a supplier, and you'll create an advanced shipment notice. Then we'll review a fulfillment line within Oracle Fusion Order Management to ensure that it has progressed through all the steps and is now at invoicing. But before we do our practice, let's quickly review our topics. In this lesson, we should have learned how to do the following.